Hola, mommy. Welcome to Solid 100. I'm your Set. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a loyal subscriber and listener to Solid 100, where you give me the liberty to speak into your life. Whether or not you receive it is a different story. But let me tell you something. The moment you stop feeling obligated to respond to everything is the moment you start growing up. That's right. I recently had the experience of somebody being combative with me. He was actually being a pest for no reason. I don't even know him like that. He was pestering something that I liked and believed in. And I went back and forth with him for a little bit, but it literally, I can give 0 Fs on convincing anybody of my beliefs or what I like or what I'm about. I could literally care less. And I think it's a sign of maturity or that you're growing up where you just feel like you're not going to be battling back and forth on text message, social media. For me, I like to pick up the phone and call people and let's hash stuff out if I really care enough to do that. I have to really care about you in order for me to get to that point. And so I was thinking about that today. Am I really dead inside? Is this a sign that I don't care? But really, maturity is realizing that silence isn't weakness. It's self-control. And not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every accusation deserves your defense. Not every battle deserves your energy. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Sometimes, the wisest response is no response at all. Why not responding is often peak adulthood. Peak. I remember a time in 2020 when all, ish hit the fan, which many people have forgotten about, which is insane. And it wasn't popular to go against what the masses were doing. And thankfully, ever since I was in my 20s, I was trained. Whatever the masses do the opposite, which is very, very interesting. Provided, very interesting knowing like the time that we were in. And I was never pro masses ever in my life. I was like that since I was little. If everybody was getting A's in algebra, what do we use algebra for? Do you guys use that as adults? And so I never ever did that. So I always felt like I was always swimming against the current. I've always been, combative and the black sheep of the family because I always ask questions. And I didn't mean to question authority. I just had questions for the authority. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we learning algebra? Do you guys need algebra? Nah. Why are we confessing to a priest? Because I grew up Catholic. Is that in the Bible? I don't know. And so for me, I have learned to go against the grain and then have to defend that position. Why am I going against the grain? And have to defend it to the death. And so when 2020 came, I had to defend my position. I had to defend it prior to 2020, why I was thinking about homeschooling, why I did not vaccinate my child. I was getting crunchier and crunchier by the minute. And then when 2020 happened and I chose to be outspoken about what was going on, about how did it make sense. I had studied socialism at the time and realized, wait a minute, this is the socialism playbook. And then I also read my Bible well, and I understood what it said about healing and authority. And I also had studied well the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and I knew my rights as an American. And so, you have to defend your position when the masses are doing one thing and you're doing the opposite. It can get ugly. And so when you're on there, on social media, and you're clicking away, I'm voting for Trump, and here's why, and then everybody else is going nuts. It goes crazy. And so growing up, people had known me to be pretty opinionated. And then I learned, actually recently, within the last couple of years, that having an opinion, yes, it's your right to believe what you want to believe, and you have the First Amendment. However, when it comes to growing up, if your opinion is not asked for, it won't be received. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody is going to receive your opinion unless somebody asks you about your opinion. That's just the reality of the situation. And so I came across a young girl a year ago, and I had told her about the school that Isabella was going to, and it wasn't a traditional academic school. It was like a life skills school that suits her learning ability best. She loves it there, and I love it there, and I've seen her thrive there. And she's like, I don't really agree with that there's no teachers, or that there's no grades, or there's no homework. I don't really agree with that. Well, she's been in the academics since, forever. And she's yet to come out of that. And she wasn't part of my family or anything. She was just somebody I came across. And I was like, first of all, nobody asked for your opinion. I didn't ask you if you agreed with this. Therefore, I probably won't receive anything else you have to say after that. But also, read the room. And they're like, oh, why can't I give my opinion? It's a free country. You can. But you've got to have some kind of social ability where when you're giving your opinion, you have to understand that if it's not somewhere where it's going to be received, or you're not being asked for it, you're going to be a repellent. Just because you have the freedom to do it, it doesn't mean that people will receive it. And so, one of the things that I realized, there are a couple of points that I'm going to talk about, why not responding is often peak adulthood, because people feel like they have to respond to everything all the time. It's a huge time suck, especially online when you are commenting on something and you're going back and forth. I had my fill of that, and from 2020 to 2020 to 2024, really, where you're just going back and forth and you're debating different topics. And although it is essential to have respectful conversation, it's very, very rare that it actually ends up being respectful. And so one of the things that I pride myself on was that I never was disrespectful. I may have been sarcastic, but I always pretended like the person was in front of me, and that I could easily get punched in the face for what I say, because a lot of people forget that, what it's like to be in the streets and get punched in the face for something that you say. And so they go at it. They say whatever. They don't care if they hurt your feelings. They don't even know you. They're insulting you. And so you have to come to the conclusion that, number one, if people are insulting you, they probably don't know you that well. And so it shouldn't really rub you the wrong way to begin with. It shouldn't be affected by it. But if they do know you, you have to understand that maybe they just don't have good communication skills. Maybe they just get angry and they don't know how to communicate exactly their point or what it is that they're feeling. And so you have to really choose as you grow up what you're going to entertain, because it is going to take up your emotion. It is going to take up your brain. It is going to take up your time. It's going to take up what you say, because, even today I had a situation that happened yesterday where this person was going off on me, and I talked about it with somebody, and they handled it well. They were like, no, that's a spirit of irritation that's trying to come at you right now. Let's get rid of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Yes. But it took up the conversation. You have to, at some point you have to place a value on your words, because your words will create your life. And if you are complaining or bitching about something, without finding any results for it, eventually you're going to pay for it. So I want to talk about this. Maturity is realizing that not every comment deserves a response. Adults learn that peace is more valuable than winning every argument. This is something that I learned when I was married. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be, what is the saying? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Something like that. Like, if you're going at it because you want to be right all the time, you're probably going to be unhappy a lot of the time, because you're just not going to be fruitful, because, like, what's the point in winning the argument? To make the person look bad, to make them feel bad because you want them to know a certain fact that is irrelevant. You have to really understand that peace in that situation is way more valuable than trying to win. Okay? Silence can be a decision, not a weakness. So you can choose to be silent. I mean, there are many times that I have chosen to be silent when a response was due, or even like if I feel like somebody is in the wrong, a lot of times I won't say anything because they're not coming to me with a concern where I can speak into them and they'll receive it. Now, recently I did have to go to somebody and say, yo, like, I want to tell you this now because it could be a detriment to your life later on. In the natural, like, it's not prophetic or anything. I'm just saying from what I've observed, and I want the best for you. But that's very few that I don't do that a lot, ever. I want to be respectful of people's decisions because people make decisions and sometimes they're not going to receive, and they're not going to receive. And so it's up to you to just be like, you know what? Like, I would want that same kind of respect as well, where if I make a decision, I would appreciate input, but people don't appreciate input unless you ask them, unless they are asked. Emotional control means choosing your battles instead of reacting to everything. Self-control is a fruit of the spirit. And so if you're reactive to every single thing that happens, and you're like offended all the time, it just proves that you have very, very little self-control. Some people want attention, conflict, or validation, not understanding. Like, they just want to just talk out of their asses. And, one of the things, if I'm in it with somebody, I'm really trying, like, if I'm going back and forth, it's because I'm really trying to understand where you're coming from. And the fact that I would choose to do that and take the time to do that, I'm not into, like, I don't want to debate with you on stuff. Like, I feel like the people who want to debate are the people who just want to get a point across, and they don't care about understanding your point of view. A mature person recognizes when engagement will produce no good outcome. There's just no winning here. So I'm not going to say anything because it seems like a lose-lose situation. Not responding protects time, energy, focus, and relationships. We already talked about that. Wisdom is knowing the difference between a problem that needs solving and a distraction that needs ignoring. Wisdom is knowing the difference between a problem that needs solving and a distraction that needs ignoring. Yes, know the difference. Know the difference between something that needs to be addressed and something that needs to be ignored. Signs of maturity. You stop needing the last word. What's funny is I remember this couple when I was married that we were friends with, and her husband was very type A and she was not. She was just super low key. And so even if he was wrong, and he would be like, no, this is what I think needs to happen. And she'd just go, okay. And anybody who wasn't in Christian circles, like if you're not a Christian, you would look at that and be like, yo, she's definitely a pushover. But what she was doing was she was exercising her wisdom, and what she was determining was worth her time to argue about. Like, does she need to have do we need to have the last word? People want to have the last word. Give it to them. Here you go. You can have the last word. No problem. No problem. I recently had, in the situation that I mentioned before, this person wanted the last word and I let them have it. And I was like, oh, okay. I did not respond. I stopped responding because it was just perpetual. It was like a perpetual cycle. He just wanted to get his point across. He didn't care about what I thought about the situation. He just was like, boom, this is what this is. This is what this is. This is what you are. This is what you are. Okay. Well, just let him have it. I don't care. You can have the last word. I hope you feel huge. I hope you feel big because you were able to have that. You become comfortable being misunderstood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You know, when I got out of the political scene, and I still enjoy, you know, watching it from far away. But, you know, when I got out of it, I was totally okay with people misunderstanding me, like why I got out, what happened to my marriage. I didn't feel the need to have to go online and be like, this is what's happening in my life. This is what's happening in the political. This is what I think. I literally let go of all of that and was like, I could care less about if anybody understands me, because what matters to me most is that the Lord, like what the Lord thinks of me. That's what to me matters the most. You prioritize peace over ego. Right now, I got no problems. I have so much peace in my life because I don't care about ego or stature, or, you know, if I have more than so-and-so, or if I'm more right, or if I've done more in the political realm, or if I've done more in ministry. I could care less. I don't care. I don't care. Jesus is coming back soon. For me to worry about what other people think of me is just not worth the time. It's really not. You respond intentionally rather than react emotionally. You understand that silence can communicate more than arguments. The fact that I'm quiet and sometimes I won't say anything. You know, I was watching this movie. It was called Jarhead. And it was about this Marine. This was years ago. It was about this Marine who he served in the military. He served overseas. I think he was in Afghanistan or Iraq. And he had a superior who spoke very little, but when he spoke, everybody listened. Like he had a great amount of wisdom. And I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be the person who's just quiet. And then when it matters most, to say something and everybody actually listens, not because I want people to listen, but because I want what I say to have value and for them to actually get something out of it. I don't want to be speaking idle words and just talking and talking and talking. There are people who sometimes I'm around, all they do is talk. And I'm just like, I don't want to be like this. I want to be able to, when I have something to say, that people will actually listen and it'll actually help them in some way. You understand that silence can communicate more than arguments. So just being silent, it speaks volumes over going back and forth. When you realize that most arguments that happen or most back and forth happens, it's because people want to get their point across and they're trying to change your belief system about something. When you realize that that's what's happening, you're going to quickly be like, oh, okay, instead of going back and forth, because it's very rare when you're in an argument with somebody that they are actually willing to learn, unless they say, I actually want to understand like your point of view. It's very rare. So for me, arguing with people or giving them my opinion unsolicited, although I have done it, it's a waste. It's a waste of time. Because people believe what they fundamentally believe, not because of what they saw yesterday. It's something that is a gradual thing that they've believed from childhood, that they have had the same information, that they see it constantly. Repetition is a convincing argument. And that's where you create your belief systems. Repetition is a convincing argument. If you're watching CNN every single day, that repetition of that message that they're getting out there, eventually you're going to believe, because it's consistent, it's continual, and it's constantly in your face. On the other side of that, if you are reading the Bible and you're putting truth into your into your spirit every single day. Repetition is a convincing argument. At some point, you're going to believe what the word says. And so you have to understand that when you are battling somebody or arguing, it's probably, and it comes to belief systems or values or whatever, that's something that's been embedded in them for a long time. And for you to think that you can argue it out of them in 5 minutes is not wise. You can't do it. And so you have to put yourself in the mindset of, what is this person trying to get across to me? And will they be open to listen to my point of view? And you can just put it out like that. Are like this argument that we're having right now, are you just trying to tell me your point of view so that you can change my mind? Or are you going to be willing to listen to my point of view? Are you going to receive and try to understand where I'm coming from? Because otherwise this is really just pointless, because you're going to stay believing what you believe and I'm going to stay believing what I believe. Y ya, se acabó el tema. That's how it is. That's how it is. Unless you're having a heart to heart and you're like, I just don't understand why this and this. Can you help me understand? That's a whole different ballgame. But if you're going at it with somebody and you're both going at it, you're not going to get anywhere. It really ever does. Proverbs 17:28, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. Oof. What? Proverbs, the verse teaches that restraint and silence are often signs of wisdom. Restraint is huge. Proverbs 26:4, do not answer a fool according to his folly. You yourself will be just like him. Not every challenge requires a response. Ecclesiastes 3:7, a time to sleep, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. Maturity is discerning which time it is. That's what I'm. Lord, give me that. Give me that. James 1:19, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Self-control is a biblical mark of spiritual maturity. Self-control is a biblical mark of spiritual maturity. Proverbs 29:11, a fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds back. Wisdom is measured not merely by what you say, but what you choose not to say. Lord, thank you. Thank you for this word. Helping somebody, helping myself. Adulthood is realizing that your peace is too expensive to be purchased by every invitation to argue. The moment you stop feeling obligated to respond to everything is the moment you start growing up. I love you. I really do. I say this because it's something that I have experienced and I have semi-mastered. And you got to get there too. Don't just, and you can ask Holy Spirit. I ask Holy Spirit all the time. Holy Spirit, am I saying something right now? Do you want me to say something? Speak through me. And most of the time, it's nada. It's like, I'm not telling you to say nothing. Don't say nothing right now. And I'll be like, okay. Thank you very much. I love you. Have an amazing night.